Good afternoon, everyone. I think today we are on the third day of this 5 days course on technology every professional should know. I think this topic was very interesting. When I was talking with the committee initially, we thought of having something like technology for senior professionals and something, and then all my committee members came to me and said, something which is a must for everyone, which are something which everyone should know, and we have designed this entire course in that particular manner. When these 5 days, we are going to showcase you the technologies every professional should know. So today we have on security, on optimizing computer, on data security, on cyber security, and many other things going to take forward with you. Tomorrow we are talking on something very interesting, which is automating through G Suite, where we are going to show you 5 important tools on Gmail, on Google Docs, on Google Sheet, Google Forms, and Google Data Studio, and how we can integrate that to give you a solution. I will also take the help of Sumit Bihani with me to show you a lot of case studies aspect. And on the last day, which is the 5th day, which is on Friday, we have Venugopal, who is going to talk on various compliance process. He will talk about how we can get the balance sheet done at a click of a button, how we can do automation on GST at a click of a button. But today date is on cybersecurity and data security. And now I request the chairman of information technology Shyam, to take over the session, and request Kamal Bhaiya to also join with Shyam. Shyam, over to you.
Thank you, Sanjeev Bhaiya, for the inaugural words for this beautiful session that we have from Bharat Bhaiya today. I believe participants will be getting very much practical knowledge about his experiences and everything regarding cybersecurity and data security. So we have our Senior Vice President, Advocate Kamal Kumar Jain ji, to give the inaugural address. Sir, Kamal ji.
Kamal Bhaiya, over to you.
Thank you. I welcome all the past presidents of
Bharat, एक बार screen share बंद कर दो ना, हाँ.
all the seniors and participants who are attending this seminar. Today's subject is top 10 things you do to clean, optimize your computer and secure data. Basically, there are 10 points which to be considered is restart your computer, back off your data, clean dust of your computer, run antivirus and scan regularly, clean up your software, update everything of software, details, uninstalled programs not in use, clean up hard disks space, run a disk, clean up and or repair, add more runs to your computer. Today's topic will be dealt by Sri C.A. Bharat D. Saraugi, a prominent speaker who will deal cyber securities and data securities for securing. Over to, thank you.
Thank you, Kamal भैया. क्या बात, आप तो सेशन स्पीकर बन सकते हैं. आप तो पूरा समरी कर दिए चीज का, मजा आ गया. I'm very happy from you. It is amazing, and you have made Bharat's job much easier now, so that he knows the agenda and he will stick to the agenda, cover many other things which are there. And now, without wasting much time, I request Amit Singhania, our committee member on information technology, to please read the profile of Bharat D. Saraugi.
Thanks, Sanjeev. It is my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Bharat D. Saraugi. He is a fellow member of ICAI and had done a diploma in information system audit. He is a certified in international financial reporting standard, forensic accounting and fraud detector, and also certified in depository operations module through NISM. He has an 18 years of experience in algo, system and cyber security audit. He is also specialized in NRI taxation and overseas accounting and compliances. He is a member of Investor Grievances Redressal Committee of the Bombay Stock Exchange and Metropolitan Stock Exchange of India. He is a regular speaker on cyber security, cyber hygiene, and NRI taxation at national and international events. Last but not the least, he is a co-chairman of our IT committee, DTPA. With this, I am handing over the proceeding to Bharat Bhaiya to start his delegation.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Team DTPA. And thank you, Sanjeev Bhaiya, for conceiving this program. Let us start the mission. The purpose of this discussion is presently data cleaning and data security. So when we talk about data, so anything which can create nuisance with data comes in. The cyber security aspects also comes in. The physical security aspect also comes in. So I'll be speaking on all the aspects, and I'll be giving you certain tips how to avoid any kind of fraud, financial fraud with regard to cyber attacks, and what things we should implement as a practitioner, as chartered accountant. Mainly you see the entire 2 hours is focused on you can connect with me, as I'm also practicing chartered accountant. So whatever I practice in my office, I will be sharing all those ideas. So these are all absolutely practical tools. It is nothing Greek that you will not be able to understand. Whatever is being implemented in my office, I will share with you. So let us start with my presentation. The presentation is a small presentation. Mainly we'll be focusing on live data take up, how do we take backup of Gmail account. I am sure many of you are not aware that we can take a proper backup of our Gmail account. What kind of data a chartered accountant have. So all these things I will be sharing with you. Please allow me to share my screen. Yeah, is my screen visible? My presentation visible? Amit? Yeah, thank you. So we are talking about data security and cyber security. Data security and cyber security goes hand in hand. You cannot separate that. So any kind of attack, it can happen through internet also. It can happen through a physical stealing also. So any kind of attack can lead to a lot of data loss. And as you are aware, data is the new oil for us. Any data which we are storing, all our private sensitive information of our client, of ourselves, and if any of these are misused somewhere, we might get there could be a lot of financial losses to us also, or to our clients also. So how to protect our own and client data? Let us first try to understand what kind of data a chartered accountant firm has. An average chartered accountant firm, I'm not talking about Big Four, but I'm talking about other than the Big Four. What I have, what you guys all have. Normally, we have this accounting software data. We've been doing a lot of client accounting. There are many CA firms who do a lot of client accounting like Tally or Busy or Marg or any fact software. So they have a lot of client data with regard to that. We have a lot of Word files for our audit reports. We have Excel files where we prepare our balance sheet, the workings of balance sheet, the internal audit reports, the annexures. These are important files which we have in Excel format. We have a lot of PDF files also. We have scanned balance sheet which we file for AOC4. We have scanned shareholder list for MDT7, and a lot of other information nowadays we collect audit evidence, audit documents in PDF files. So we have a lot of PDF files also. So, and we have a lot of management representations also. Those are also we keep in PDF files. There are certain applications also we as a chartered accountant use. We use various software applications like for doing TDS returns, for income tax returns. We use ROC softwares also for preparing minutes. We have XBRL softwares, and we have GST return software also. So all these have a lot of data. And the last, we have a lot of client data also when we deal with income tax. The client data includes the bank detail of client, the Aadhaar number, the PAN number, the email contact detail, the user ID of all the income tax return site or the ROC sites. So we have all this very, very sensitive information, and specifically the client personal information. These are all very, very sensitive. If it goes leak, if it goes to the dark web, it can create a lot of nuisance for us. So I'm just trying to summarize what kind of data a CA firm has. So when we deal with these kind of data, we should have a policy, a process where we keep backup of all this information. We keep security for all these data. So I have summarized that. So again, the second most important is emails. Lot of our data are in our email account, which include Gmail, Hotmail, or Yahoo. And we don't know how to take backup of that. It can happen that your Gmail password has been leaked, or it has been misused by someone, and he could delete the data, or he could send send different mails to different people. So we have to safeguard our email account also. And last not the least, with the WhatsApp also. Anybody can hack your WhatsApp and send messages or steal your private messages and can misuse it, blackmail it. It can be anything. So these are the three important aspects when we deal with important data with regard to a chartered accounting firm or any organization, you can say. Let us try to understand what are different types of cyber threats which are there right now, which can lead us to data stealing or data misuse or data changes also. The first and the most important is phishing. Phishing, then we have viruses. We have a lot of different kind of viruses, like the ransomware virus, which they lock the files. You are not able to open any of the file unless you pay the ransom to them, and then they give you a decryption key. Then there's a called DDoS, distributed denial of service attack, which happens to your website. You have a website, and there are hackers which send various. Just one second. Yeah, there are many hackers, professional hackers, which do attack to your website, so that your clients, your customer cannot see your website, log into your website. Your employees cannot log into your website. This is called a DDoS attack. Then there could be like you forgot your laptop or your phone somewhere, and you have a lot of information on your mobile phone nowadays. So a data can be stolen from your stolen devices also. It could be stolen also. It could be you have forgotten it somewhere. There are professional hackers. You must have heard now that the Russian hackers, about the Chinese hackers, the Russian hackers are on a continuous move to create a lot of nuisance with US. Like they are continuously giving a lot of ransomware attack in most of the US companies now. You have link via email. We see this is similar to phishing. Like we get emails where there are links where they ask you to download it. A link could be sent through SMS also. Like you see there are a lot of messages coming nowadays that please take vaccination from here, click on this link to register. The moment you see a link, you don't know that message person who is sending, you should never click it, because it can download a malware, it can compromise your mobile phone or your laptop or your machines. You have social media malware. Many of you must be seeing that your Facebook profile has been copied and has been sent to your friends. So these are called social media malware. They send malwares through messages also. There are malicious insiders. Malicious insiders are basically employees. If you have some employees, disgruntled employees who were not satisfied while, or some misbehavior with them, and they create nuisance with you or your competitors. It could be anyone. Untrained employees also, it's a threat. If we don't train our employees, employee training is one of the most important thing for us right now, for any CA firm, for any organization, because untrained employees can click anywhere and can make your system compromised to a different level only. Unauthorized access, it could be like you have gone to earlier used to be a cyber place where we used to go and log in to your email, or you use free Wi-Fi. So you can give an unauthorized access to your email account or you to anything about. Then there are automated cyber attacks, as I mentioned. There are Russian armies and Chinese armies are into cyber attack. They are professional automated cyber attack. They continuously keep on exploit the vulnerabilities of different website and different data server of any country. So that could be an automated cyber attack. And the last most important is the poor password management. Like every one of us are using password in most of the functions, and we are using most of us are using poor password like a numeric password or an alphabetic password. So we have to be very careful what kind of password we should have. I'll guide you on that also. So I've tried to make you understand what are the different kind of cyber threats. So further, nowadays you have been seeing during the COVID and the post-COVID, there has been a lot of surge in the cyber fraud. This is why it is happening, because many of us were working from home. We were doing all kind of e-meetings. There were thousands and millions of downloads every second happening, because people are using internet so much. We are because of the COVID, we are doing a lot of online transactions also. And there's a huge surge in social media activity like the LinkedIn and the Facebook activity. We are using Netflix, Amazon. So all these are also have helped in the surge of cyber frauds. So let us try to understand what is basically a cyber security. Yeah, cyber security is basically securing your systems. Systems mean computers, not only computers. It includes your network, firewall, your switches, all your applications, your program, your devices. Your devices could be your mobile phone, your laptop, your iPads, from any kind of unauthorized access. And if that unauthorized access is not curtailed, it could lead to destruction or change in data. So this is the most important definition. All of us should know the definition of cyber security. And cyber resilience and cyber security goes hand in hand. Cyber resilience is basically an organization ability to respond and come back as quickly as possible when there is a cyber attack on that organization, and how they continue to operate, what is their business continuity plan. So cyber security and cyber resilience, you will always hear this word together. Let us try to understand what is phishing. You see, 95% of any kind of attack in your system, in your mobile phone, happens through phishing. It does not happen through DDoS attack, like a hacker is directly going into your system through network. It happens through you only. It happens through me only. So one of the biggest way of any kind of attack is phishing. Most of you are aware what is phishing, but I'll try to give you more information about phishing. Phishing is basically they try to get information from you by just giving you certain kind of malicious mails. Like it could be like anything that you have won a lottery, or your income tax refund has been passed but unable to credit because of this some problem with your bank account. It could be anything, and they will try to take your attention, and you will be like you will respond to that mail or message, and then the hacker will steal information from you. He'll take a lot of information from you. So it is basically a malicious technique through either email or through SMS, and nowadays it happens through Facebook also. The phishing happens, the person who is sending the message, basically he conceals his identity. You will not be able to know who is sending the message. He could use someone else's name and email to send you the message. The idea is to manipulate you, trick you. You have to understand what is the trick. I will try to guide you the 5 steps, which you will, if you follow those 5 steps, you will be able to reduce the phishing attack a lot. So the purpose of doing a phishing attack is basically to seek information from you to access to your organization data. So let us try to understand how can we stop this phishing attack on us. Like we cannot stop this phishing, but we can avoid being fooled by this phishing attack. So there are basically 5 steps. So whenever you get a message, an email from someone, or SMS from someone which you don't know who is sending, or even if you know the person who is sending, you should check all these steps. You should first check who is the real sender of this message or the email. If you look into that particular person email, you will be stunned that the person who is sending that email, the name is different from the email address. I'll just give you one example. Like if you get a mail that I am sending a message, Bharat Saraogi is sending you an email. But when you properly open that email, you will find that it does not have Bharat Saraogi in the email's address. It has something else. So this is the step 1, where you identify immediately that this is not the correct person who is sending. This is a spam mail. The second is whenever you see all these kind of mails, you will see there are a lot of spelling errors, grammatical errors, spelling errors in the website, spelling errors in the content. The income, like there has been cases where the messages, emails have come from income tax portal, but was not income tax portal. The spelling of income tax was wrong. It had some errors, which you have to be very, very careful. You have to look at those errors and you identify, yeah, this is not a genuine mail, this is a phishing mail or a spam mail. Third, whenever you see any link in any of the mails or SMS, you just try to mouse over that link. You will see that there's something different is written in the link, and when you mouse over, you see something different. Suppose a link is showing hdfcbank.com, but once you look at properly, that link has a different spelling. So these are one of the few important steps we should always take while looking at any phishing mail, any mail which could be a phishing mail or a genuine mail. Never click on any mails, any links. If there is a mail from HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank that there is some error in our database, kindly click here to re-enter information. Don't go through that mail. You always directly visit that website. If there is an error, the bank will always allow you to directly visit, or the income tax portal will allow you to directly visit. You should avoid clicking any link directly. You should avoid clicking any link in the emails or the SMS. You should directly visit the website. And if still there is a confusion, you should immediately take help from your IT person or any person whom you think have some knowledge of IT. So if we follow all these steps, we'll be able to avoid at least 90% of any kind of phishing attack in our office, in our personal lives. Again, to sum up, we should never open any spam mails. Google has a very good filter of spam mails. You should never try to open all those spam mails. Simply just go through it, skim it, and delete it. Do not download any attachment from any person whom you don't know. And even if you know, you should always check whether that person is actually sending or it has been skimmed, that person email address is actually correct or not. Do not click on any HTTP link. Even if you have to make payments, if you have to click anything, make sure that the link is HTTPS. It is not HTTP or HTTP. Do not scan any QR code. I'm sharing this information because you see, this is the program is about creating awareness with you. It is all about, if we are aware what should be done, then we take a lot of precaution. It is like when you are traveling in a bus and you see a message, beware of the pickpocketer. Immediately you take care of your wallet. Similarly, the idea, the purpose of this small training is to make you aware what is happening in real world with regard to cyber threats. So once you are aware about it, you will definitely take care. You will be more secure and more safe. You have been hearing a lot of cases where people are calling as an army officer, and then they're trying to sell you things, or they are trying to buy you things, and they ask you to scan a QR code. You should never scan a QR code when you don't know any person. And it should never happen in a phone to phone connects. You go to a shop, you can scan a QR code for making payment, but you should not do it while talking to a stranger and scanning a QR code. Malwares. There are different types of malwares. Malwares are basically exe files which goes to your Windows software, and they try to execute program to steal data from you or to take access of your machines or your mobile phone. So once you download any link, there could be a possibility that you have downloaded a malware, which you will not be able to understand only. There have been cases where we have seen that many times we see messages in WhatsApp that Amazon is giving free vouchers, or iPhone is being distributed or is being given free of cost. So nothing is free in this world, I believe. Whenever you see all these messages, if you see the link, you will be like shocked to see that the spelling of Amazon is wrong there. The spelling of Apple is wrong there, then they do not have this HTTPS link. So the purpose of giving all these kind of link is once you click that link, there is a hidden malware which get downloaded in your mobile phone or in your laptop. And once you download that link, the hacker is able to see all your activities. They basically use a spyware in your system. You must be hearing nowadays, this news is coming out that some Israeli software has been used, Pegasus software has been used. Are you aware how they have been implanted to so many people? They have been implanted to all these spam mails or SMS only. Any person who has given that SMS to that receiver, he must have clicked it. Then only that particular software got downloaded in their phone or in their laptop. And those are all hidden softwares. You will not be able to recognize whether any software is there. And many of us are not using any kind of antivirus in our mobile phone. So if there is a malware in our phone, we'll never come to know unless we scan it. One such important, very good example software is Plexi Spy. If you go to their website, this software is available for $60 a month. And it takes 30 seconds to implant that software in any phone. You just need a personal phone, you download it, and that particular phone get cloned to the hacker. You can see anything, that person WhatsApp, that person phone calls, WhatsApp phone calls also, WhatsApp messages also, all the SMS, all the OTPs, it goes directly to the hacker. So we have been hearing a lot of cases where we have seen that people come out and complain that their phone has been hacked and suddenly OTPs are coming and their bank account has been getting empty. So this is because of all these spywares and the malwares. So we have to be very, very careful when we are downloading, when we are clicking any link. Once you click any link, it can create a lot of problem for you. And there are different kind of viruses, as I mentioned, ransomware, spyware. It has happened in my office in 2016 that a ransomware attack was happened, and all my important files in my server was locked. Within minutes, it got locked. And I had no option to recover. Like I tried a lot. I went to a lot of data recovery companies that they can help me with to recover the data. Nobody could help. There was a message in the virus, in the particular format files, that you please go to this browser, click this link, and they will be asking a ransom money from me. If I pay that ransom money, they will be giving me a decryption key. Once I get the decryption key, I can use that decryption key to open all my files, folders which have been locked. My personal photographs were locked. All my office database was locked because of that ransomware attack. But only one thing saved me, that was my data backup. I had proper data backup. I was able to recover all my data. So it's very important to have a data backup for all your data. We are all aware about antivirus. I remember in 2000, early 2000, none of us were using antivirus. We used to think who will spend hundreds or thousands of rupees for antivirus. I remember that time also. Like we used to frequently have virus attack. Once we realize when our data is gone or it is deleted, then only we realize the importance of data. So now I believe last 10-15 years, all offices, all computers have antivirus. So antivirus is very, very important tool to protect your data. We should always buy a proper licensed version. We should not buy antivirus, free antivirus. There is nothing called free antivirus. And we should start using this antivirus in your mobile phone also. We have been doing a lot of work through our mobile phone. We are doing a lot of payments. We are doing a lot of applications through our mobile phone. So now it is a time to use proper antivirus in our mobile phone also. We should regularly update the definition of antivirus. It is very important. Just buying antivirus will not help. I've seen in many cases, in many clients' office, when we go for any audit, that there is an antivirus in the machine, but they have disabled it because this antivirus create a lot of problem they slow down a computer to a little bit, then they don't allow from one computer to access the information to another computer. But once you have bought an antivirus and you disable it, then what is the point of using it? The threat is always there. So it is important that the antivirus should always be enabled and it should be updated on a very, very regular basis. And on a regular basis, you can scan all your office computers, all your servers, so that if there are any viruses, it get deleted or quarantined. As I mentioned, passwords. Passwords, we have been using it very, very loosely. Passwords are something that we should be very, very careful. There are certain applications also which help us to remember passwords. We have been using passwords in internet banking, in our access to income tax website, in our access to GST website, in all the different kind of government website, in banking, in statutory dues payments website. So there have been a lot of passwords, and all these passwords are to be properly used. Properly used means it should not have just a numerical password or alphabet password or something like Ram123 or Balaji123. I've seen cases where these are the very, very common passwords in India. And anybody can get access to that password and can get into your account and create nuisance with you. The person can do internet banking. If somebody steals your password, he can do internet banking also. However, presently, the internet bank, their two-factor authentication has been introduced in the internet banking. We access Gmail account also through passwords. So the password should be, you should be very, very careful. You should have the best policy for implementing a good password. The good password should always have at least 8 characters. And in fact, nowadays the recommendation is minimum 12 characters and should be alphanumeric with special characters. It is important to use special characters. Once you have all these features in your password, it is very, very difficult to crack any password. There are different tools to crack passwords. So once you have a combination of uppercase, a capital letter, or a small letter and a special character and a number, all these 4 combinations comes in. It is next to impossible for any person to use any tool to actually use your password anywhere. Then you should regularly change your password. Regularly changing your password, it all depends on activity to activity, sensitivity to sensitivity. Internet banking password should be changed at least once in a month or at least once in 3 months. So it is important to, even if your password is leaked, if you are regularly changing your password, it helps you in securing your data. Then there's something called two-factor authentication. Whenever you are using passwords, you try to implement a two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication means once you have given a password to a website, they ask you of further information. If you're not able to give that further information, they will not allow you to access. In case of banks, we have seen the OTP comes in. That is called a two-factor authentication. In case of, suppose I'm logging to a CAMS website. CAMS is basically a mutual fund distribution website, servicing website, where they ask you different questions. Like they have framed 5 questions, you have to give that answers. If you're able to give that answer, then only you will be able to access that system. So two-factor authentication is basically an extra layer which helps you to mitigate this attack. All of us are now working from, many of us are working from home, and presently still a lot of people are working from home and remotely. So it becomes a challenge for any organization if your employees are working from home. So we have to have some basic best practices to be implemented while working from home. You see, the purpose of giving you this information, this knowledge is that these are all part of data security. If any of this part is loose, automatically your data security part also gets loose. So what are the best practices we should implement while working from home? Your employees or even you are working from home, you should always create a very, very strong password for logging to your system. You should have a proper antivirus. You see, office machine, office desktop, you have antivirus, you have all strong password. But once a person is working from home, they are using their laptop. The laptop could be a personal laptop of the employee also. And you don't know what kind of pirated software he's using in that laptop. So you have to be very, very careful when you're dealing with these kind of machines, these kind of employees who use pirated softwares. So if we follow these best practices, we can avoid certain kind of data loss while working from home. So always create a strong password to log into your office cloud or to your office servers. Use antivirus in all your employees' machines if they are working from home. There's a there's an option to implement firewall in your antivirus software. When you're working from home, you should always use that firewall functions. You should be very, very careful while dealing with clickings. Like when you're working from home, you might get a lot of messages in SMS, in WhatsApp that you click on this link. So you have to be careful what you are clicking. Nowadays, most of us are looking at WhatsApp message on a very, very continuous way, but we are not looking at our SMS messages. We forget to look at our SMS. You see all these OTPs, all this banking transaction confirmation comes through SMS. So you should be very, very careful. You should keep on looking at your SMS messages also. If there is some wrong has happened or your internet banking password has been compromised or some debit has happened, you will come to know immediately through looking at your SMS messages. So it is a very important thing that you should be very much text message aware also. As presently we are all looking at WhatsApp, so we should always look at SMS also. We should be very, very careful while dealing with online bankings. We should use the best practices of 2FA, two-factor authentication while doing any kind of online banking. And as a matter of advice, I'll always advise people not to use mobile phone for doing internet banking, because mobile phone have a lot of applications. All those applications have a lot of informations being accessed through the devices. So it is very advisable, very much advisable, whenever there is important internet banking transactions, please do it. Please use your laptop or your office computers. Because for small transactions like Paytm or buying a ticket, you can use your mobile phone. But for making large payments, for making online payment, for adding any beneficiary, you should always use your laptop. Again, when we are working from home, we should always be careful that the webcam is off. If there have been cases where if a malware is being implanted in your machines, you will not be able to understand whether the webcam is on or off. So you should be careful when the webcam is on and off. Use always a secure Wi-Fi connection. Most of us are using Wi-Fi. So in your house, in your office, the Wi-Fi should be secured. Secured means it should not be an open Wi-Fi. Anybody just cannot click and get into the website, because if they can just take your Wi-Fi, they can access your network also. So your Wi-Fi should always have a password. Be aware of data leakage. Many of us are using this remote application like AnyDesk or TeamViewer. So in AnyDesk, you are not able to understand only the person who is using the admin function of AnyDesk can take any data. So there is an option where you can view what files have been transferred from your machine to the other person's machine. Again, these are all checkpoints. We should always be very, very careful which data that person is taking. Is he supposed to transfer any data from your machine to his machine? And always disable Bluetooth audio discovery. When you are using your mobile phone, if there is no Bluetooth requirement, you should keep your Bluetooth disabled. So these are the best.
Bharat,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. If presentation, if you can also add a few practical, stuff on how you can optimize your computer and practically show them how to do that.
Right. I'm just coming back to that.
Great.
Yeah, I'll take them to the Gmail website, Google website, where I'll take
like how to create control
Gmail backup.
If you can show some practical tips on that, that would be great.
Yeah. So let me take you. Just give me 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
If
it's
you go
visible.
to, yeah, if you go to Google, there's a site called Takeout. Takeout Google. Can you see that? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. This is basically a step which I'm showing you. You see, most of us have a lot of information in our Gmail account, and we never have taken any backup of that Gmail. If for some reason that email get deleted, then what will happen to those emails? So I'm trying to tell you how to take a backup of that Gmail account. So just type Takeout Google. You will see a website, takeout.google.com. So this is basically your account, your data. Export a copy of your content in your Google account to back it up. They allow you to take all the backup of your Google account. Gmail is a part of Google account, mind it. So I'll just deselect it. What information you want to take backup, you can use it. You see, I use a lot of calendars. So I'll click this. Contacts, we should all click. Drives, definitely Google Drive. I'll tell you how to take backup in Google Drive also. This is also part of the program. The Google account, Google Chat, Google Photos, whatever Google functions we are using, we can take a backup. The Hangouts, Google Keep, Google Mail, Gmail basically. Maps, depends on you want to take backup or not. Activities. Yeah, so I'll take it to the next steps. Now look at this message. Do you want it to export once, or you want export every 2 months for 1 year? It gives you an option to create a regular backup of all your Google account or all your Gmails into a particular download function or to a cloud function. I'll tell you how to take. Suppose I'm taking this just for once only. Export once, create export. It gives you an option what kind of files you want. Do you want a .zip file or do you want a .tgz file? So it's better to select .zip file because we are all aware about what is a .zip file. So I've selected this. Again, a zip file can be opened almost in any computer. We know that. Export larger than this size will split into multiple files. You want the backups to happens in any files which is larger than 2 GB, or like we can take any one. I normally choose the 50 GB. Create and export. So your account, your data, export a copy of the content to take it, but create a new export. Export progress. So Google is now creating this export. Just 1 second. There's an option to export into a drive, OneDrive also. I'm just trying to look at that.
Yeah, it was showing export in progress.
Yeah, it was showing export, export in progress, manage export. It gives you an option where to save it. You want to locally save it, or you want to export into a cloud-based function.
Okay.
Just let me try to do it from a different machine. different account. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yes, visible.
Yeah, choose file type, frequency, and destination. It's a part 2. So I deselect it. I'll just take calendar and drive and mail. Yes. There is an option. I just forgot to click there. Delivery method. Can you see my screen? There's
Yes.
an option send download link via email. There are different options. Add to drive. There's an option to add to your Google Drive also, your backup. Add to Dropbox. Dropbox is again a cloud-based function. Then add to OneDrive. OneDrive is basically belongs to the Microsoft. And add to Box. So if I choose add to OneDrive, so this backup will automatically go to my OneDrive account of my Microsoft account. Like I have a Hotmail account where I have taken a subscription of OneDrive also. So we have taken the frequency and the destination. Now we will choose which type of file. We'll choose 50 GB, link account and create. I'll just create a link. They will ask you for reconfirming. So it will now automatically get exported to my OneDrive. Everybody can try this. And we can create one more by downloading it in our local also. Download, send via link. So once this progress happens, you will get an email. You see, immediately this has come. Download. Can you see my screen? So if I download, that particular file get downloaded in my local machine. So even if my Gmail account is totally empty, I can restore it. I can see any emails. In my particular Gmail account, I have emails since 2006, 2005. So all those mails are retrievable to me, even if it get deleted in my Gmail account. So we have an option to create an auto backup every month. The Gmail will take backup and store it either locally, give you a link through your email, or they can store it in the Google Drive, or they can store it in any of the drive called OneDrive or Dropbox. Now I'll show you how to use Google Drive, how to upload your data, your important data to Google Drive on cloud, so that even if your local machines, you are not able to access it for some reason, for COVID reason, or for there's a fire in your building, or you are not able to access your local machine, you can use it through cloud. So I'll tell you how to use it. There's something called Drive in your Gmail. I'll take questions at the end. I'll not take questions now. So there's an option called Google Drive. You have an option called New. Here, this is basically, this Google Drive is totally on cloud. Anytime you can upload any of your local information from here to the cloud, and you can access it from anywhere. So I'm just trying to show you how you use a Google Drive, how you create a cloud for your office. So there's an option called file upload. There's an option called folder upload. You can upload the entire folder in the cloud. I'm just clicking on this folder. There's a folder, Ensure Correct. I just double click it. Upload. Upload 12 files to this site. This will automatically upload the files to my Google Drive. So when I'm out of my office, I can access to this file from anywhere just by logging into my Gmail account. This is how you create data backup in Gmail through Google Drive. One more thing I would like to tell you, like most of us are using, you see my focus is more on Gmail because maximum people are using Gmail. So I will be talking more about Gmail for this data security or data backup part. If you see my email account, you'll see that I have a space of 200 GB. Can you see at the down at the left hand side? 104.99 GB of 200 GB used. Can you see my screen? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, visible.
Yeah. So if you check your email account, you will see this 200, you have a space of just 15 GB.
Yes, yeah. 15 GB.
So all of us should be should understand how we can increase the size of this our Gmail account, because now most of us are using our data through cloud only. So you have a possibility to increase the capacity of the size of this cloud server. So once I click this, the Gmail gives me option. You have got 200 GB. Do you want more storage? I say, yeah, get more storage. The moment I click get more storage, I have given a lot of options. I'll show you. I can increase it to 2 DB. I can increase it to 10 DB. So when you want, if you want to increase it to 2 DB, it is not very expensive. It's just 650 rupees per month. A 2 TB is basically 2000 GB data. So this is how you can increase your Google space. And once you increase your Google space, you have more space to store your data. It's clear to everyone? Yeah, only 15 GB. So if you click on that 15 GB, the Google asks you, do you want more space? And you have an option to buy more space. It could be 100, it starts with 100 GB, then 200 GB. I have been using a lot of data, so I have taken 200 GB. And the best part of this 200 GB is that this is my email account. I can share this space with my family email account, with my partner's email account. So now collectively we have 200 GB space. So this, many of us we're not knowing this, that how we can increase the space of a Google account and how can we share it. So just by paying 1300 per year, 100 GB, it could be shared with any number of people in my family, in my office. But the space will be restricted to 100 GB if I pay 1300 per year, as all of us require data space. Similarly, there are options in Microsoft also, that Microsoft, if you have taken a subscription of Microsoft 365, the Excel, the Word file, there are rentals also, like it's 6,000 rupees, they give you 6 users. 6 users can use any of the Microsoft apps, Word, Excel, PPT, many other apps. And they give you a space of 1 TB also. That is a OneDrive. I'll show you how a OneDrive works. Can you see my screen? Amit, I'll keep on asking this.
Yes,
Yes,
sure,
yes.
sure. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Visible.
Can you see OneDrive?
Yes.
So you see this OneDrive is being synchronized with my Office server. If I work in my Office server in any of the files, it automatically get updated in OneDrive. automatically. You'll see all these files are stored in the cloud. So if I am not in my office, I simply go to OneDrive website. I can download any file. If my office employee is working in my office, is updating any file, and I am not in my office, I can simply download it from OneDrive. I do not need to ask him, please send me email, please send me attachment. So all these are synchronized with 365, synchronized with OneDrive. This is a free feature of Microsoft 365, which is very, I believe it is not expensive at all. You get 6 licenses for 1 year and it costs you around 6,000 rupees. And you get a space of 1 TB also. So there is a very good option to take a proper backup of your data. Even if your machine get lost, there's a fire in your office, no problem at all. Everything is being stored in OneDrive. So anytime you can download that OneDrive and you do your work. One more thing I would like to tell you, like previously, what we used to do, we used to take backup through pen drive. Like myself, in my cases, I used to buy a new pen drive or a hard disk, 100 GB hard disk. Then I right click on the data folder and take a backup, send to item. And many of the times we have realized there's some error that it could not get completed or the file got corrupted. We have seen cases that was the history of taking backup. We used to take backup like this, that. But nowadays, backup are not taken that way. Backup are taken in a more professional way, in a more organized way. There are various backup software. There's a very good software called Nova Backup. I'll show you. Again, Amit, can you see my screen?
Yes, visible.
Yeah, this is a very good software for taking backups. They basically what they do, they create an image file of the entire folder. So it takes a lot of time to take backup. Suppose if you have if you have a data of around 60 GB, I'm talking GB. So it takes around 1 hour to take that backup. But that backup is a foolproof backup. It creates an image of that folder, and you can use that backup anywhere. That backup will never disappoint you. In many cases, we have seen earlier that we used to take backup in pen drive, and when ultimately there was a chance to use that backup never used to open. So I always advise my clients and my professional friends also to use a good backup software. Nova Backup is one such software. You get 3 licenses for around 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. And you can share this license with your professional colleagues also. So this is a good way of taking backup. There is an option to take auto backup also or incremental backup also. And they have an option to take it to the cloud also. You can see image backup, cloud backup. So directly your backup can be stored in the cloud also, just like OneDrive. And those backups are absolutely foolproof backups. Now more about data security. You see, most of us are now using cloud-based applications. Cloud-based applications mean like QuickBook or Xero or Zoho, where the accounting is being stored in the cloud itself. We don't use any application. But many of us are still using desktop applications like Tally, like Busy, like Fact, which are desktop applications, where the software is in the server only and we use it. So now we have an option to shift that entire database into cloud. So that is also a possibility. I'll show you how it can be done. There are many options. Like there are many data center. Control S is one such data center. NetMagic is one such data center. Amazon AWS is one such data center, where you can store your entire office server into cloud. So you don't have any server in your office. What I have done for my office, I'll show you. This is a small application which we are using. Again, Amit, you can see my screen. Amit?
Yes, we are visible.
Yeah. So this is a small application which I'm using. The data center is NetMagic. It's a very renowned data center. And I have taken on rent a server space where I have put where I've installed a Windows server there, and I have installed all my applications files which I use. I use Tally, I use Busy, I use GST software, I use income tax software, I use TDS software, I use XBRL software. All these applications I have stored in the cloud application, and I do not have any local machines in my office. Now I can access this application from anywhere. I'll just show you how quick it is and how safe it is. Suppose I want to use this Tally. So I just clicked on it. This access is being restricted, is not given to everyone. It's been restricted on user basis. Like certain of my team members are given access to Tally, certain particular folders. So you see, everything is on cloud. How quickly it got opened. And it is quite a lot safe while using it on cloud, unless you share your password, unless you give the access right to those persons. You see, it is so simple to use. Now everything is on cloud. I can simply log into any account and do my accounting work. It is so simple. Even the applications also, like I'm using, suppose an income tax software. Nothing is there in my local machine. Everything is on cloud. So I'm not worried about COVID. I'm not worried about lockdown. I'm just working from where I am. And all my team members also work in that way also only. You see, the application is open. I can file any income tax return through this application. So you can various applications, whatever you are using in your office, you can put it on cloud, and those are absolutely safe. Again, you have to implement the best practices for safeguarding those assets. Data is again an asset. Tell me something. Let us now try to do it in an interactive way. How many of you are having any information on what kind of access you have given to your employees to your articles? Do you have any such record? Access, like which client data they are using, or which internet banking access right have been given to your employees? Do you have any such data, any such information, any such Excel sheet where you have information? Can you please message on the chat box if anybody have just. No, most of us do not have any clue what kind of access rights our employees are having. We have no clue. It's a time that we should start preparing an Excel sheet where we have all the information, what access have been given to whom. Because once that person leaves, that access should also be deactivated. That email should also be deactivated. It is one of the most important practice for any data security, for part of cyber security also. So whenever there's a change, employee is leaving or employee is being transferred to another department, whatever access he has, all these should be deactivated. One more application I would like to show you. Have you heard of Slack? Please message on the Dropbox. Have you heard of Slack? You see, Slack is basically a communication tool where you can do communication with your team members, and you can transfer files, folders to each other. It is like WhatsApp only, but it is very professional, very safe, and it creates a lot of professionalism in your organization. I've been using this Slack since last 1.5 years, and it is free as of now, because it gives you a restriction of 10,000 messages, and up to 10,000 previous messages you can look into it. In WhatsApp, normally what happens, we normally delete all the messages, we format the phone, we change the phone. So there are a lot of restrictions on WhatsApp messages. So, but once we use this Slack, and there's a best option to transfer any data, any files, any folders. And you can have separate threads. Can you see this channel? I have created these kind of threads, Like if I want to discuss with my team member, there are certain team members on Form 10A. I take regular attendance here. If I want to discuss on auditing, if I want to discuss on cybersecurity. Is my screen not visible, Amit?
No, we are.
Not now.
Okay, just 1 second. Now,
Yes.
yeah. This application is free application. Up to 10,000 messages, you can go back and see. And there is no restriction on the number of users. You can implement in your office with all your team members and partners. You see, all my team members are here. Whenever I have a message, I can directly message to them. We can talk in a group also. We can have different kind of topics also where we mentioned what we are writing, like what was the attendance today. Like I asked all my people to give attendance, whosoever are working from home, give their attendance here, their in time and the out time. We have different topics of different threads, you can say, we discuss. And the best thing is we can send any files, any messages. Like there's an option to attach any file. Suppose a person has sent me so I can access any files. This is one such file. I just simply download it, and this file is being downloaded here. I can open it. Can you see my screen?
We are
Yeah.
visible.
So this is a very good software which we can use replacing WhatsApp. WhatsApp is not very professional to be used. We lose a lot of data in WhatsApp. Like it has happened many times that we ask people to send over WhatsApp. But here, all the files are stored in the cloud, and you can access this through your mobile phone also. You can access this through your laptop and computer also. So this is a very good software and absolutely safe and secure. And they have a lot of integration also. One more thing I would like to guide you with regard to, let us go back to my presentation so we can quickly finish it. Amit, again, my screen visible?
Yeah, we are.
This presentation visible?
Yes, visible.
Yeah. Let us talk about data. The data which we are using in Tally, in the accounting data or the personal data, the income tax return data of our clients. So all these are very, very critical business assets for any chartered accountant. If this data gets leaked or it goes to a wrong hand and it comes to your client knowledge that it has been leaked through your office, through any of your employees, your reputation is at stake, which is like it cannot be repaired. It goes to the irreparable stage. So the most important thing is we have to identify data as our critical business assets. Once we identify it as a critical business assets, automatically a lot of that safeguarding comes in. Safeguarding is regard to, like, we have to ensure that we give a lot of protection to those information. Protection means the physical, protecting it physically mean the server need to be properly protected. Nobody have access right to the server room, and nobody can simply put in pen drive and take out data. So these are all called physical protection. And the technical protection is like we try to keep data in encrypted format also. Whenever we are sending email to our client with attachment, we make sure that attachment which we are sending are password protected. This is the second level of protection. This is called cryptographic control. Like whenever we are sending attachments, that particular attachment is password controlled, and we give a next mail or through text message the password of that particular attachment. So even if it goes to a wrong hand or a person who is not required to know that particular information, he will not be able to open it. So it is very important to ensure physical and technical protection to your data. Data is the most critical business asset for any chartered accounting firm. If for any reason there is a breach of data in your office, some attack has happened, it is your duty to inform the stakeholders. Stakeholders mean the clients or stakeholders. The government also comes as a stakeholder. There's a website called CERTIN, CERTN, Computer Emergency Response Team of India, where you have to inform the government of India that there's a ransomware attack and my data has been taken away or it has been logged. They give you a lot of guidance how to recover from that particular attack. For any data, you have to identify responsibility. Who are the people in your office who are responsible for safeguarding those data files, data folders, where to store it, how to store it. I'll give you one example, how I store folders in my office. I'll take you to my cloud again. Amit?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just taking you to my cloud again. Can you see my screen?
Not now.
Just 1 second. Yes. Just look at my screen, how I am saving my folders. You have year-wise, this is my cloud server, and I have to be very careful how I utilize those space. Those space are very expensive. So there's a folder of 2021. If I click it, these are the folders. You will not be able to see any scattered files. You should always keep your files in a proper way. You see, there are different folders being created. I'm just reading it out. Accounting, assessment and scrutiny, bank audit, certificate, consultancy, DP concurrent audit, cybersecurity audit, internal audit, empanelment, GST, income tax return. All these folders have been created. Once you click it, you will find further folders. So you have to keep all these folders in a proper way. It is very important that your folders should, because if it is scattered, you will not be able to take proper backup of those folders. So you have people should be assigned proper responsibility to take care of these folders, of this data. As I mentioned in my second slide, that these are the 5 things a chartered accountant maintains in any organization. Amit, again asking you, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So you should have a particular backup, a person responsible for taking the tally backup, the busy backup, the fact software backup, a person responsible for taking the Word file backups, a person responsible for taking the PDF file backups, a person responsible for taking all the application software backups. I have a person who is dealing with only income tax return. So it is his responsibility that whatever returns which have been fed in the software, he has to take a proper backup every weekly. So there is no data loss. So you have to assign proper responsibilities. Who are the people who will take backup? In small organization, the proprietor only has to take the backup. Yeah, again, coming back. So always identify genuine recipient for any sensitive information whom you are sending email. That person should only receive it. So you should have proper NDA with vendors. In many of our clients, we have seen that, like if there's a stockbroker client and he has a vendor, his vendor knows everything about the application, about the client. His vendor has all the access right with regard to that particular stockbroker client. So my stockbroker client should have a NDA. NDA is non-disclosure agreement with that vendor. It is a must for him. If there is no NDA and if that vendor do anything wrong or he misuse the information, that client, that stockbroker has no legal recourse with him. In our case also, if I have a AMC with a computer guy or I have a AMC with my service provider who is helping me in my cloud data. So I do a NDA with him. So in case for some reason, if that person does any mischief, I can immediately sue him for that. As I mentioned, cryptographic control, when you are sending any emails to persons with attachment, you should always try to give password to that particular attachments. No confidential data, anything should be shared in any social media. If you are filing returns for Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, you should not tell in Facebook that you see I am filing return for Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, or his PAN number is this. He has filed this much income in his income tax return. So no sensitive information should be posted in any kind of social media just to tell people that you are so great. In UK, there's an act called GDPR. It's a data protection act. In Singapore, there's an act called PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act, where there is huge penalty if you are not properly doing due diligence with your data. If you are a chartered accountant and somebody steals your data, misuse it, sell it, then it is you are liable, not the person who is stealing it, because you cannot court hold him. But the person from whom the data got stolen, he is liable in millions of dollars for any kind of data loss. So we have to be very, very careful while dealing with our client data, while dealing with our personal data. So just sum it up, I would try to tell you what kind of minimum essentials we should follow as a chartered accountant firm while dealing with data or our systems. We should always use genuine operating softwares. Genuine operating softwares mean we are using Windows 10, now Windows 11 has also come. So we should always insist on buying a genuine operating software. A genuine operating software helps you to mitigate all these kind of risks, all these kind of vulnerabilities. When you are using a Windows original software, there's an auto update every week. Every 15-day Microsoft update its vulnerabilities and gives you an auto update. So you should make your updation in your Microsoft Windows in auto mode, and it should be auto updated on a very, very regular basis. You should avoid using any pirated operating software. If you use a pirated operating software, there are a lot of vulnerabilities there inside it, and any hacker can misuse it. You should take regular backup of all your critical data and database. I've shown you different ways to take backup. You can take backup at Google Drive. You can take backup at OneDrive. You can take backup at your cloud server. You can take backup in a professional software like Nova Backup software, where you store it very properly. So backup is the most important thing. If there is an attack in your office, anything which can save you is backup. If you have a proper backup, there's no problem. Let the attack come and go, doesn't matter to you. You should always have a proper antivirus in your machines, in your mobile phone. Again, I'm insisting mobile phone. Most of us are using mobile phone on very, very regularly for financial transactions. We should have proper antivirus in that also. Whenever we are taking backup, we should have a practice of regularly testing that backup. It can happen that you are under the impression that your backup has been taken, but when is a D-Day, when you have to restore the backup, you see the backup is not working. So it is a very good practice. I always advise my client that you should have a log, you should have a register where your person mentioned that he has tested the backup on this particular day. Don't open any attachment, any URL from any unsolicited emails. Phishing, like you have to safeguard yourself from phishing. Only you can safeguard yourself. Nobody will come and help you on this. If you are aware about all these kind of unsolicited emails, don't open it. No, there is no requirement. There is no use to experiment कि just देखते हैं ना, एक बार क्लिक करके देखते हैं क्या होगा. ऐसा कुछ हो जाएगा कि आप समझ ही नहीं पाओगे क्या होगा. You should have proper logs, proper an Excel sheet where you have giving access right to your employees. Whenever that employee goes, immediately cut that access right. उसको आप बंद कर दीजिए तुरंत, क्योंकि अब उसको उस access की दरकार नहीं है. उसका email को आप deactivate कर दीजिए immediately. We are using a lot of third-party applications, like Microsoft Office is again a third-party application. So हमको Microsoft Office को भी आपको regularly update करना है. उसमें भी कई तरह के bugs होते हैं. हम कई तरह का सॉफ्टवेयर यूज कर रहे हैं. हमको इनकम टैक्स सॉफ्टवेयर यूज कर रहे हैं कोई वेंडर से, क्या केडीके का यूज कर रहे हैं, वेबटेल का यूज कर रहे हैं, तो हमको उसको भी रेगुलरली अपडेट करना है, क्योंकि ऑल दीज एप्लीकेशंस हैव वल्नरेबिलिटीज. और हैकर उस एप्लीकेशन के थ्रू आपके मशीन में जा सकता है. ही कैन एंटर इनटू योर मशीन, he can simply transfer all the data from your machine to his machine, and he can use it for blackmailing you, or he can sell it to the dark web. You should regularly take training on new kind of cyber threats. You should ask your employees also to take regular training, because if you have untrained employees, you don't know what kind of problem they will create for you. Even you also need to take regular training on regular things. Whenever an incident has happened to you, you should share it with your office colleague, with your friends, with your partners, so that they don't get into trap. It is very important sharing of information. The government of India has opened a website for cyber crimes. You can report any kind of cyber crime which has happened. You can report to certain computer emergency risk team, where you report any kind of attack which has happened to your office. The government will come to know that these kind of attack is happening, and then they will create awareness among people that please be aware, don't open this file. You see a lot of messages that cry a baby, there's a message from this number, don't open this message. This is basically sharing of incident only. If you share your incident, then only the other people will get aware and they get caution. So cyber security, data security should not be taken just as a compliance. It is basically a way of work. We all are now too much into this activity, so we have to be very, very careful. Let us open for discussion. Now we will discuss we'll take a lot of questions and discuss whatever comes in. Yeah, I'm open for questions now. Amit, can you unmute a few people if they want to ask any questions?
Yes, sir. Participants, if you have any question or any doubt regarding this, kindly ask.
I'll tell you how to configure a 2FA, also two-factor authentication in your Gmail account. It is very important that we all should start using two-factor authentication.
I guess Manish is able to unmute. So maybe Amit, if you can.
To whom? Manish.
Yeah, please unmute him. I guess Shyam is the hosting.
Nahin.
Can I speak?
Yeah, Manish, you can speak, please.
Sorry. Yeah, Manish ji. Hello.
Manish, please.
Oh, sorry. Again, it was again unmuted. Sorry. Regarding Webtail, as you informed, the Tally will be installed on a cloud-based Webtail, correct?
Right.
And so that Tally will be only in the cloud, but not in our desktop.
Right.
So now that Webtail user ID and password I am having in my mind and in my laptop.
Okay.
So every time I will be logging in through my laptop, I have to use the user ID and password. Then I can go to the Tally.
Right.
Suppose my laptop is broken, and I want to use that in my friend's laptop using the Webtail through www.webtail.com, something like that.
No.
Can I use that?
No. You see, accessing your cloud server, it is basically through a RDP, remote desktop protocol. Through RDP only. Have you seen how RDP access is done? Are you aware?
No, can you please help?
If you go to search in your machine, just type RDP. Just type remote
RDP.
desktop. So one remote desktop connection will come.
Correct.
So from there, you have a user ID and password. You can access to any machine in the cloud.
If my laptop is broken,
Doesn't matter.
I remember. So I will be using my other friend laptop or any colleague's laptop, and I have to use type RDP there.
Yes, and you can directly go to the cloud server.
Manish, it's not RDB, it's RDC.
Yeah, RDC, remote desktop connection.
RDC, yes, remote desktop connection. Okay. And this one more you have asked for, the Slack bot. Like we are using WhatsApp web also. So is there any specific feature in the Slack bot for using the communication tool over
You
mobile
see,
or
Slackport have an open API. They have like a lot of tie-up with your Gmail account also, with Outlook, with Zoom also. So in Slack only, a Zoom meeting can be configured.
Okay.
And many companies are using Slack now over WhatsApp, because you see WhatsApp normally it's there in your phone also, and it happens that you change your phone, so a lot of information goes deleted also when you change your phone.
Yeah, normally we take, okay, I understand, it's a additional software. Now again, for the backup of the Google data,
Right.
after you have taken the data by two methods, by local backup or you are copying to the OneDrive. Now you have taken the backup. Now I want to restore. So I have to go to the OneDrive or Google Drive, and then I have to click, press the user ID and password, and then retrieve the data.
Right.
Is it the same way?
Yeah, you have to download the data.
It's after backing up. If I have lost my data.
Come again. Are you talking about the takeout part?
No, yeah, the takeout part, I have already taken the Google backup data of my files, folders, and pictures. Now
Right.
I have lost my laptop or something. I'm now purchasing the new laptop. Now
Okay.
I have to again to retrieve all the information. I have to re-log in with the password and user ID, and then click on the OneDrive or Google Drive to get back that data. Correct? Is it the same way?
Suppose that data is stored in the OneDrive. So OneDrive has the different access rights, access information. So you
Correct.
go to the OneDrive, you can download it locally, and then you can
Okay.
open it.
Okay.
For that, you don't need a Gmail password. So it is now open to anyone.
OneDrive is separate because it's Microsoft, and
Yeah.
Google Drive is a different.
Right.
Okay, but the option of taking backup is the more or less same in both the cases.
Yeah, even Dropbox also. All the cases same.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anyone else? Then they can just raise their hand. We'll unmute.
बोलिए सर. पोद्दार जी को unmute.
Narendra Poddar ji. Okay,
जी.
just a second. Yes, sir. Narendra Poddar ji, I've asked you to unmute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
होगा अनम्यूट हुआ?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, स्क्रीन नहीं दिख रही मुझे आपकी.
सर क्या बोल रहे हैं?
अब आई सर?
स्क्रीन नहीं दिखाई दे रही है.
No, it's visible.
चले नहीं, but we can hear to each other. सरावगी जी.
जी सर.
सर आपका मैं ये सेशन जो है मंडे से चल रहा है. टुडे इज थर्ड डे. I'm listening to all those days since Monday, and I'm not techno savvy. For joining, I phoned to Shyam Agarwal, but I'm by age I'm 60. I'm not techno savvy, but I've listened to all the three speakers. All speakers are very nice. Even today, you discuss about the cyber security and data and the cloud. I think I have added my knowledge. Very good thing. And today session was fantastic. You are from Bombay or Calcutta?
सर मैं कलकत्ता से हूँ.
मुझे आपका नंबर दे सकते हैं सर?
दे दूंगा सर, अभी मेंशन कर दूंगा.
ओके, बाद में दे दीजिएगा. So this session is very nice. I enjoyed the session and it's addition to my knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Saravgi. There is no question as such, but I want to thank you for the good deliberation, good lecture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I think you can carry on.
There are a lot of antivirus for mobile also. A lot of antivirus. So you can search. Quickhill का भी है, and those are very reasonable for 100 rupees, 200 rupees you get for a year license. Firewall अब मैं आपको स्क्रीन शेयर कर रहा हूँ. Firewall भी दिखाता हूँ कैसे करते हैं. Suppose मैं Windows का ही antivirus यूज कर रहा हूँ. Can you see my screen?
हाँ अभी चालू हुआ.
Yes, भैया.
हाँ, अभी आप देखिए, दिस इज विंडोज सिक्योरिटी. बेसिकली विंडोज का इनबिल्ट एंटीवायरस प्लान है. आई एम नॉट यूजिंग एनी एंटीवायरस सिंस आई एम यूजिंग authenticated Windows software. So this has inbuilt antivirus software. So there's an option where you can use all kind of firewalls or ransomware protection. So all these features are there. Even if you buy a Quickhill software or a Kaspersky, they have options where you can implement a firewall protection. Firewall protection is basically, it does not allow the other system to access into your system without your permission. So there are options. There are two kinds of firewall. One is a hardware firewall and is a software firewall. The thing which I am showing you is a software firewall. It is being in the software itself. Our hardware firewall is a kind of एक आपका network machine type का आएगा छोटा सा. उसके through that is a hardware firewall. Those are expensive. अच्छे organization, बड़े organization उसको use करते हैं. तो आप, it's very simple to implement that. Yeah. CA gets special package for antivirus. I am not aware. Sanjeev Bhaiya can tell. Shall I tell you, guide you to the two-factor authentication?
Yes, भैया.
स्क्रीन शेयर स्टॉप हो गया, अगर वापस कर लीजिएगा.
So I'm taking you to my Gmail account. See, every day I get 200 emails, at least 200 emails. It's very, very difficult to read all this. There's an option called, if you see that 9 dots, Google Apps, there's one particular option, the first account. You'll see this in all the Gmails, all the Google accounts. So the fourth category, security, is there. If I click that, there's an option called signing into Google. Password, 2-step verification. In my screen, you are able to see it is on. Even if I share my password with my colleague for certain reason, for some urgent work, I'm not in town and she needs or he needs an email from my account, and I do share. So she'll not be able to open my email. There is a 2-factor authentication there. There's one particular message will come to my phone. After giving that particular number, then only she'll be able to open my Gmail account. And after that access, next time she'll not be able to open. So the purpose of implementing 2-factor authentication is our email account are very, very sensitive. We have so much information into it, and we should take more care to safeguard it. So I request each one of you at least implement this 2-step verification on your Gmail account. It's very, very simple. Once you do it, you will be automatically, the Google will guide you how to do this 2-step verification. If you have faced any problem, you can call me, you can message me also. Autosave password, yeah. You see, if the machine is a stable machine, you are using one machine only, then there's no problem in auto saving your password. It automatically opens. But when you log into another machine, it will prompt you for a 2-step verification. All the website passwords should be saved or not allowed to save. You see, there's a application called Last Time, LASTIME. This is a password management software which automatically store all your passwords, even the credit card details also. And it is very, very safe. So you have a super admin password for that. Once you give that password, automatically it takes password from all these, like your Gmail, your credit card, your bank, internet banking, all the password gets stored into that. How to send attachment with password? There are small applications in Google. If you search that you want to give password to that particular attachment, suppose you must have seen whenever you are receiving a contract note from your broker, when you open that contract note, you have to compulsory give your password. That password could be your PAN number, your date of birth, or your first name also. So that is called a cryptographic control. There are certain tools which, like, you can define that this is the name, this is his PAN number. So whenever any email goes to that particular person, that PAN number is the password for opening any messages. So there are tools for that. Password last time, LASTIME. Last time, I'll show you that. Sorry, last pass. LASTPASS. It's a free tool, but you get more good service when you use it at a paid service. Can you see my screen? Amit, can you see?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
Bhaiya.
Yeah, this is a website, LastPass. It's a very, very good software for remembering all your passwords.
In fact,
Absolutely safe.
Bharat, we can also use Google Password Manager as a first tryout.
Okay, I have not used it, so will not
Okay.
be able to comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first time.
Attachment application app, yeah, encryption app. You can. It is all the same. It is basically, encryption is a more sophisticated thing for cryptographic control. Encryption is related to hash keys. Encryption means when you are sending something, nothing gets changed in the middle. What you have sent, that is only goes to that person. So it is more on a higher version encryption app. But a normal password protection app is a smaller version. It's a lower version, sorry.
Anyone else, if they have any question, they can raise their hand.
Are you aware of AWS, Amazon Web Service? So you can create your own Office application within 10 minutes. You can do that and store all your softwares like Tally or any software in that particular server and use it. Start using it. And for the first 1 month, it is free. Amazon Web Service. There's an option called Lightsail, LIGHTSAIL. I'm just mentioning in the chat box. AWS LIGHTSAIL. It's very easy to configure. Cost will be 7,000 per month for a small office with 100 GB space, I believe. Number of users like depends on you have several options there. 5 users, up to 5 users, there is no problem. Depends what kind of RAM you are using. So the more RAM you use, the more higher configuration you use, the price per month changes. And it is a cash cow for AWS. Whatever revenue AWS is earning through that.
Just for the benefit of all the participants, there is an 3 dots option beside the chat where you type your questions. There is an option to save the chat. So all the software names and everything that has been discussed on chat, you can save it for your future purpose.
That's a good one, Shyam. I never knew that. Thank you.
Welcome, Veer. So I think most of the queries have been answered, and people
Yeah,
are ready.
NetMagic you can use. NetMagic is an Indian company. It's a very, very sophisticated data center. NetMagic, many local companies use NetMagic. They have a presence in Calcutta also, I believe. In fact, in Calcutta, you have this Tata Communication, earlier VSNL, they also have a data center.
So, Sanjeev Bhaiya, Bharat Bhaiya, can we wrap up this for today?
I think it's a great session. Most of the things were answered. Yes, you need to step in. You need to start working on this today, and take it forward from here. Definitely, Bharat, if you can share your number, if you need further guidance while implementing, I think Bharat will be good enough to guide you, help you whenever you get stuck. But yes, do implement strong security policies because we are the soft target, as suggested by Bharat. We are the soft targets for hackers, and nothing is 100% foolproof. But it's like a race where we need to get better and better, better and better, so that we are not in the last race, which means the tiger is there, so you need to run. So you cannot be in the last leg. You need to be just a little before that. That's the only message which I wanted to share with all of you. Great session, Bharat, and I think you have very exhaustive knowledge on this subject, and he actually works a lot practically, and he practice on security. And there's a huge opportunity. I don't know whether, Bharat, I was missing your session, but there's a huge opportunity on information security. A lot of company and organizations are now looking for system audit. They are looking for, areas wherein you need to, confirm whether they have taken adequate measures on security. A lot of investors are also looking to get their company audited by us, by security auditor, to confirm that the organization is secured in all aspects. So I think you should take this as an opportunity to start practically working in your organization, as well as start consulting and auditing for your clients as well. With that, Bharat, if you want to throw a 2 minutes light on this area, if you have not covered, I think that will be a huge opportunity for all the members over here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge opportunity in cybersecurity and systems audit. Last 17, 18 years, I got this opportunity to do a lot of audits. From there only, I started my learning. Now we are started hiring freshers engineers from colleges like KIT and Heritage. Recently, we have had 7 people from there. And
if you can see, yeah, go ahead, Bharat.
And we are doing a lot of pen testing, also penetration testing, using various kind of tools like Kali Linux. Again, like now I've started feeling regret that I don't know anything about programming or coding. I wish institutes start introducing this thing in curriculum, how to do coding and programming. The time has come.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, it's not just about learning, organizing and getting secured internally. You can even dive in, get yourself expert into it, and take this as an opportunity, because every single client is looking forward to you to serve them, to secure them, and to take them forward. Because if their data is lost, if they get ransomware, if they are hacked, we are the person who they are going to look at to help them, to guide them, and to protect them. So it's very, very important for us to take a deep dive on this, take a certification course on this, do a lot of practical study, review, have team under you, so that you can eventually practice system audit. With that message, let me give you another announcement. We have 2 interesting sessions left, one on Google and the other on this automation using Tally and GST. I think Radha Ladhania has a question. Radha,
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please ask your question.
I've unmuted Radha.
Radha, you can speak if you want.
Radha, unmute, please. I've asked you to given permission for unmute.
I'll take 5 more minutes. Like, I want to show a small Excel macro where we can use it for 26 years. Like, everybody is using 26 years as a chartered accountant. So how macro has helped me to reduce the time. Like, within 1 minute, the entire half an hour exercise get done.
Yeah, please do that. But before that, let me answer Radha. Yes, there are certificate course on this. You can go in, various Udemy, a lot of massive open online courses are available where you can start, taking certificate courses and take a deep dive on that.
Yeah.
Jump into another
Udemy is basically just a training session. They don't give certificates.
Right.
So there are a lot of certificate courses website also. I will share that in the chat box. So where you take professional course.
Okay. So Bharat, I had to leave because I'm joining another session for SIRC. Shyam offered the vote of thanks with Amit. Thank you so much.
Sujit Bhaiya is there, our committee member.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shyam, let me complete that.
Okay.
Shall I do that?
Let Bharat Bhaiya
If we have
complete,
time, if people are interested, then only I'll do it.
Definitely interested. You please go ahead.
Acha, one more thing I wanted to share, you see, technology has become so important for us to understand. Recently, this RBI XBRL has come for all these NBFCs, and most of the people are facing a lot of problems with regard to filing and validation. So again, a lot of technology has come into that play. How to open that file, how to create user, how to make a maker and a checker. So I'll try to cover, we are coming up with the session next week, I believe. Shyam, I had to talk with the president also. So that will one part. Now I'll show you how to use this macro as to get information for 26 AS. Like I'll just try to, I'm not good in Excel, but I'm just trying to help you out with that. This macro has been prepared by one of my team member in my office. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Yeah, visible now.
Visible now?
Hmm.
Check it. I'm just opening one Excel file. I have downloaded a TXT file. Okay. For this report, this PDF file will not help us. We have an option to download a TXT file also. That will only help us. So there's a TXT file. I'm just importing it. So there's you will see the screen. I've already started a macro. I'll show you what I've done. First, let me show you. I'll choose this delimit. Next. Others. Next. Finish. So this we know, most of us are able to do it. Converting this TXT into Excel.
Yes.
Just 1 second, I'm not able to shift. So I'm now starting this macro. Run. Now you see, I am not doing anything. Automatically, it has created a summary of this file, TXT file. So from these few clients, I am getting this TDS, how much TDS has been deducted. So this automatically a pivot has also been created. Just see. We can play with any, whatever way we want to do it. You can see Axis Bank. How much is the TDS deducted? How much is the amount? Any kind of report. It just took me 10 seconds to do this. Earlier, it takes me around 1 hour to compile this report. First, I need to prepare this. I have to convert this TXT into Excel. Then from Excel, there are a lot of rows which I have to delete it. I have to make it in a column. I have to bring that into a columnar format. And then I create all these kind of pivots. So just running the Excel macro, it has helped me to do this in 10 seconds. It has saved me 30 minutes for each client. So how much time it can save us for, if we are dealing with a lot of clients. So any kind of report, you can play around. PAN number. So this is how you can play with the pivot also, and macros can help you in reducing the time. That's all with the macros. Yeah, I can share the macro. Just share your email ID. But I'm not sure this macro will work with your version or not. I'm using the latest Microsoft 365. It totally depends on version.
We'll
Shall I
share it
repeat
with
it
all the
once?
participants.
Acha. Yeah, Shyam.
Yeah. So anyone else, any more questions if they would like to ask?
Yeah, it has been recorded for a specific format. Like it is 26 AS for like the PAN ledger which we get from the income tax website. So it has been recorded for this particular file. I've been using Microsoft 365. It will not work with your 2007 version. I have the latest one which I'm using.
I think 2007 maximum things will not work as of now.
Right.
We need to upgrade it to the latest version if you want to get updated. Okay, fair enough. I think we can stop the session here today itself. Thank you so much, Bharat Bhaiya, for your enlightening presentation. And I believe all the participants have a very good session today and they learned a lot about security. So 3 days have gone, 2 days left. I believe all the participants are enjoying their sessions of this 5-day course. We'll be shortly submitting the feedback form in the WhatsApp group. Request you all to please give feedback for our program. And see you tomorrow with a brand new session with a new speaker. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Bharat. Thanks, Bharat.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Vice President, sir.
Thank you, bhai.
Thank you, Amit.
Thanks, Bharat.
Good evening.
Under dedication.